for December 20th, 2016. Approximate time is 4:01. I call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Okay. Mayor Santiago?
Here.
Commissioner Ennis? Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
And Commissioner Campari? Here. Commissioner Sui?
Here.
Let's all stand, salute the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. This meeting is being conducted in accordance to the Open Public Meeting Act of 1975, was advertised, posted, and made available to the public as required by law. The municipal clerk is directed to include a statement in the minutes of this meeting. Madam Clerk, are there any review changes to the agenda?
No, Mayor.
We now open up this portion of the meeting for public comment on agenda items only. Anyone that would like to approach the mic, please come up. State your name, your address. Limit your comments to 5 minutes, and you must comment on an agenda item. Seeing no one, I close the public comment portion of this meeting. Can we go right into old business, please?
There's no old business tonight, Mayor.
Discussion of commissioners. Commissioner Davis.
Nothing at this time.
Commissioner Sui.
Yeah, before we do the engineering report, the Facebook page is up, so I think you guys all got an email if you wanted anything
Yes.
on there to send to Samantha. So we're making progress there, and once we get that up and going the way we want it, we'll start our Twitter feed. So, progress.
Commissioner Perry.
Oh, wait, I forgot the engineer's report.
Go ahead.
I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry. Go ahead. You're up, Wayne.
Thank you, Commissioner, for allowing me to give our update. I just wanted to let the Commission know that I don't want to seem like a high school student unprepared for class, because I'm really not, but right now we're in a transition period. The wastewater treatment plant project has started. The contractor's beginning to mobilize on the site. We're reviewing shop drawings, all kinds of permits and layouts. So I'm spending probably half my time on the wastewater project and half my time in the municipal engineering portion. So right now we're in a transition time. Having said that, I always like to start off our update with the hydrant status report. There's been no change in the number of hydrants out of service in the city. It still remains at 4. We have 976 hydrants still in service. Our maintenance program will commence in the spring again. We're waiting for the retrofits for the hydrants from American Darling. The contractor still has to come in and replace nozzles and grommets on 124 hydrants. There's one other item that's popped up in engineering that's been consuming a lot of time. Is NJDOT is planning a resurfacing program throughout the Cumberland County on Route 49. It goes through Millville. There was an initial design engineer for NJDOT. There was a change in engineers, and somehow we slipped through the gap. So now we're playing catch up to have some of our water main replacement programs incorporated into their project. So we're working with NJDOT and their design engineer, HTNB. We're sending up drawings that locate all our existing utilities on Route 49, the water and sewer. And we're also marking up the drawing to show potential water main replacement to take some of those older mains from the 1830s out of service. There's a 6-inch main that ties into the new 12 on the bridge. Somehow they ended up with a 12 by 6 reducer at the bridge. So it's 12-inch across the bridge, and it runs 6-inch over to Cedar Street, which we tied into that for that improvement project. And then it changes to 8 up by Brandreth. So this will be about a 1,600 linear feet replacement of water main. We have to do final design yet, but we're getting that up to NJDOT to see if it could be incorporated into their project.
But we would have to pay for those costs, for the water main part.
We would have to pay for the water main cost. This was something that we had planned to correct deficiencies in the system since I started. We just had to move up the time frame because of the DOT project.
And then funding-wise, you would have to bond it, or you don't know yet because you don't know what it will cost?
Well, right now, based on what we've done this past year since I've been here, we can spend probably right around $1 million a year without a bond to do water main replacements. So we can either hold off on the South Millville replacement program, or we can bond this part and continue with the South Millville water main replacement. So we have to
Marcy,
discuss that.
Do they normally spend that on repairs in the water department?
I thought we were going to do a bond of about $1 million a year, and I don't think we ever did that.
We didn't do it. Let's set up a meeting so that we can figure this
Okay.
out, how much we need a year, and we can get this,
Well, I do know that we
Straightened
did
out.
Cedar Street and Columbine this year, and I don't recall that we did a bond for those projects.
we did,
We did a bond?
yeah.
Oh, you reappropriated, okay. Sorry for my misunderstanding. Okay.
And then I
So
guess,
then we gotta discuss it.
and you have to do it because they're going to be repaving, so then there's an issue with opening the street after they repave it, right?
Well-
And all
Well,
that.
that was the way it initially started off, but it could be that we could have the pipe route not be right in the cartway. We might be able to have the pipe route under the sidewalk, and if that's the case, then we wouldn't be under the gun, so to say, to be part of that work. But right now, we're just sending up our plans and what our projects would be. If we can put it in the sidewalk area, that would give us time.
Have they indicated when they're going to begin?
It's late in 2017 they'll be beginning. Yeah. I think next, Brian, is the 15th Street facility, if you have an update on that.
Okay, out of 15th Street, if you've been out there, they've set the posts for two of the gates over on the 14th Street side and the parking lot gate. I just talked to Joe before the meeting about a revised gate at 15th, to the 15th Street, and that would require an additional $3,800 because there were some conflicts in the field with utilities, so it may be like a double gate, a slide gate. So that's where that stands, and then they could actually have the work done if they order all the materials shortly after the holidays, and they could have the work done.
And then will it be done, finally?
The
Yes.
entire project, no.
No, still
Well,
not
not the
done?
whole
The fencing and
not the whole
gates will be
facility.
done.
That's just the
So that
fencing.
building's not done
The
yet?
fencing and
building's done,
gates.
The gate will be done, but you still have stone.
Site work.
down.
There's still site work out there.
Yeah, site work, that's it.
This will enclose the facility, so and they've been looking forward to that. That'll kind of help them with, securing equipment and security. So that's where that one stands.
Thank you, Brian. Well, one thing, Commissioner, I forgot to mention is I spoke to Commissioner Sui and to Brock before the meeting. The engineering department's been spending a lot of time with South Jersey Gas on the restorations of the roadways within the city. They had an accelerated infrastructure replacement program throughout the state, and a lot of work was done within the city of Millville. Roughly, the cost was just around under $5 million for the work done in the city of Millville. We did find that out. We spent a lot of time riding the streets, looking at all the openings, coming to an agreement on the sections to be mill and paved and flat patch repairs. After doing that, we did a review of our ordinance. Our ordinance calls for a permit fee to be collected for every opening within the city of Millville. On the South Jersey project, there were 1,035 holes made within the city streets, some in moratorium roads, some in older roads. And when I reviewed the number of holes against the permit fees received, it didn't seem to reflect the proper amount. So right now we're talking with South Jersey Gas, trying to get them to supplement the fees they've submitted. There's been a little bit of back and forth. We're hopeful that maybe tomorrow they'll call us and tell us it's resolved. If not, I'll be talking to Commissioner Sui and Brock on how to pursue collecting the right fees from South Jersey Gas.
So what are-
The other thing is, going forward, not what's just happened with South Jersey Gas. Wayne thinks that our fees are not adequate in our ordinance
Right.
for street openings to cover the city's costs, and they're not commensurate with other towns. So we may want to take a look at the ordinance to bring those fees up with their neighbors.
And what I was thinking for the resolution of these fees is if we could prepare a resolution for legal action against South Jersey Gas in case it's not done by the next meeting in January. It won't be another 3 weeks sitting around.
And
Waiting.
You'll have to check because when we first came in office, they were replacing all the meters and they were supposed to get permits for that, and they got a waiver from the DCA. So then they didn't have to. They only had to do a prorated. So I don't know if they have another kind of deal with those permits also, because we were counting on some funding, quite a bit of funds up in the construction department, and that never panned out.
To the best of my knowledge, commissioners, no such agreement for this
Okay,
project.
so they only did it on the building construction side. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's another part of our ordinance that requires 2.5% charge or, fee to be collected based on the value of the project. Not the total project, but the restoration portion. And that's to help offset the cost in engineering. I mean, we had Brian Day pretty much out on the South Jersey Gas project for almost 10 months, coordinating between the contractors, traffic safety, making sure the work was done appropriately. So we spent a considerable amount of time. I've spent a lot of time. Brian Perlich has spent a lot of time. And the fees, we need to collect the fees to recover our cost. So the total value above what they would have paid to date is another $44,000. They paid $76,000 so far. And that's the way I interpret the fees in our ordinance. So I'll put something together and send it to Brock and Commissioner Sui based on what we find out tomorrow.
And
Yep.
then do we have to change how we do that, though, so it doesn't happen in the future, that we miss those things? Do you know what?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's been a past history and a relationship with South Jersey Gas where there was a lot of give and take back and forth, paving different streets that weren't, part of that project per se to help the city, and there was a good working relationship. And there still is, but I seem to think that we weren't getting a fair deal, so I kind of pursued it to make sure it was fair, and in my opinion. And that's how we got to this point. And they've been working real hard with us, but there has been a lot of back and forth. Wastewater treatment plant phase 2, we issued notice to proceed on December 14th. December 13th, we met with the contractor for the pre-construction meeting. We went through all the project requirements, the NJDEP requirements, municipal finance construction element, their requirements, SED plans and utilization. I'll be acting as the compliance officer for that, to work with the contractor and DEP to make sure we're meeting the 10% goal on the project for the SED. We went through the shop drawing process, project schedules, coordination with operations, which is one of the most important things to make sure the plant still meets compliance. There is some verbiage in the specifications that if, for some result we don't meet compliance by an act of the contractor, we have some recourse with that. Hopefully that'll never happen, but it is in the spec. We're also looking at, there's some issues just to combine the wastewater project with the operations. There's some issues at the plant with filamentous bacteria. Again, it's been there since the beginning of November. Creates some safety concerns that I have for foaming on the activated sludge walkways. We're working on methods to control the bacteria. We have a lot of work to do. We're looking at chlorination of the waste streams to kind of knock it down. Right now, I think we're kind of recirculating it through the system. That's why it's there so long. It did show up the day that we had the last inspection with the FDA and the marine biologist from NJDEP, and then it showed up again during the pre-construction meeting, and the Municipal Finance Construction Group noticed the foam, and they spoke with their chief operational biologist, Chris Hoffman. He's coming down on January 13th to offer assistance to help us to try and resolve this issue. We're also looking at incorporating some items into the work that were taken out of the work as a cost savings measures that probably need to be put back in. In the aeration tanks, there's a surface wasting or floating skimmers. We're looking at putting those back in to help collect the filaments, take them out as soon as possible, and adding some chlorination, flexibility in the RAS building. So we are working on things. We're being proactive to try and control the filaments. There's also some older pumps at the plant that were originally installed in 1958, so they're the same age as me. So they've been working hard for a long time. Some of them been replaced or repaired, 6 years ago. We're trying to rebuild another one. It went offline last week at some point after an overflow. The shaft was bad, the impeller fell off. The issue is that the components or the parts take 14 weeks to get, so we're in a kind of a vulnerable spot where we don't have that backup pump. So we're repositioning our backup emergency diesel pump to serve as a fail-safe if something were to go wrong. So we're working on that also to try and keep everything moving forward. The contractor submitted a schedule. He is looking at putting the ultraviolet disinfection system in first, the Trojan UV. That's a part of the plant that's really needed to help meet compliance. So they are working with us on trying to do that. The contractor seems to be very cooperative and working good with engineering and operations so far. It's still in the beginning, but we're just getting to know each other. The municipal building roof repair, I think we touched on this before. We did reach out to Alper. He's supposed to be modifying his warranty to match the manufacturer's warranty. We haven't received that as of yet. It was supposed to be 105 mile an hour design wind speed. If you recall, they had a 55 mile an hour design for the installer's warranty. So there was a difference. We're waiting for the new warranty to come in. Once it's in, we'll forward it to Mike McDowell and Commissioner Suey, and then we'll sign it and activate it. High Street paving, Brian could probably update you best on this, right, Brian?
Yep. With the paving, I think we're going to have engineering consultant by Dave kind of help out with the handicap ramp design. So we're still, that's the stage we're at right now. Pretty much the rest of the drawing is complete except for those sections. But I think if we bring him on with that, we'll be able to get it done in a timely manner. And just with, we've been busy with a lot of the South Jersey gas projects, and I think this will kind of help move this along. So we're not kind of caught at the end of the year, election time. So.
Oh, you want to get it done before next November, to be honest about it, before the election. If anybody's running, you want that all over with.
Okay.
Ware Avenue demolition project. We spoke to Gary Clark from Delphi. They are coming back in to regrade the site. They were supposed to be here last Monday. They got held up for weather and different reasons. They promised they're coming in next week. We're not giving them their final payment until that work's completed. So it'll be regrading the crushed concrete, possibly placing some DGA over the top of it to smooth it out. We also have Brian Day following up on all the other demolition projects throughout the city. There were some areas of concern where sidewalks were damaged, curbing damaged. We're going back to Delphi. They promised to come back and fix everything that's been damaged. I recommend that we don't do final payment on those items either until it's done. I don't think we have either.
Well, so I know they got their CO though, because that was given to them because they went out and I guess they're just looking at the lot when they do that. That it looks okay.
Yeah.
So they pass that, but so we always have to wait until you come in and say the rest of it's okay.
Right. Yep,
Okay, all right, because it's two separate things.
two separate things, and we'll try and get together better to streamline things, so.
Because I think they did Green Street now, and then Commissioner Davis had told me they're over on Mulberry Street. So it seems like
They're
they're
getting ready to
moving.
start Mulberry next week.
I think they started today, right?
They started
Yeah.
today?
They took
Okay.
415 down today.
Okay, they did take it down today, okay,
So they're moving on those now.
okay.
And Buck Street's done, I guess, so you would know that, because they wanted the money for that. And Green Street, I think, right? Okay.
I imagine they'll do 9/11 tomorrow.
Okay.
That's one building.
All right, I'll have someone from engineering go out and check that, yeah. And Brian did meet with him yesterday, Gary Clark. So he's staying on top of everything.
Good, thank you.
No, thank you, Commissioner. We touched lightly on the water utility operations with the NJDOT project, and we'll keep moving forward on that. We still have to get into the tank inspection reports, to see what we're going to do, what kind of work we're going to do on the tanks. The most immediate concerns, I guess, are the safety issues from the old climbing safety guide rails, to update those to make sure it's just safe for our employees and inspectors to access the tanks. So it's in the report. We have to go through the report and start picking out which pieces we want to start doing repairs on. Steve Pierce, informed me today that this is always good to report. There's nothing to report, so that's always good news. So thank God for that. I think we covered the wastewater treatment plant operations pretty much with the Phase 2 upgrade. Unless anybody had any questions on that. Sherwood Forest, Brian, you have a report for that?
The latest on Thomas Ella Basin, Sherwood Forest. We've got all the documents together. Had to get the old bonding information, the old engineer's estimate, stormwater reports. Going to have our consultant review that. I believe that just went out this afternoon to him, and we'll have hard copies for him to pick up. Kind of evaluate the bond amount, see what's there, and likely going to have to incorporate that the new basin design. We're going to put a number to that, and then this way we have a proper bond amount, and then the city needs to take action against that. Then that's the bond amount. We want to kind of bring it current because it is, as you know, it is.
So in other words, we need to have enough money there to go after if we have to get it done. We don't want to be short on the bond.
Right. There's enough to do, like the improvements, accounted for the initial basin design. So, yeah, I believe there's about $159,000 left in there, and that would cover like the paving, street trees, and any final punch list items.
Well, there's something too, Brian, that came up with the landfill. You had to provide information to DEP this week.
Yeah. For the air permitting, the landfill, they needed some clarification on the venting system out there. So we took pictures of the nameplates, and they pretty much needed to know like the flow data, how much airflow it pushes through. So they seem to think that they didn't have all the information they needed online, so they have like an online system where you plug everything in. So we did give them the pictures, and then I'm just going to extract that data and fill it into their database, and that'll they'd like to have that I think January 9th. They want to have all that complete, and that's for like the methane testing.
All those pipes we see sticking out of the ground out there. Right?
Yeah.
Marlin Terrace, the stormwater system, we were able to plot the existing conditions profile. I think we have it. Is it right here, Brian? The Marlin Terrace. The last meeting, I don't know if you recall, we did Rhonda Drive. We had the profile for that. Now we have the one for Marlin Terrace. It looks like our alignment is going to be the final alignment, so we can send Bob Thomas's easement description over to you, Brock, because it is the final one. There's maybe a condition where we have to have a little easement on this property. Mr. Thomas thought that probably wouldn't be necessary. But this is the profile right now. We have to do some engineering on that just to determine whether or not this existing pipe that runs from Marlin to behind Mr. Bruno's property is sufficient size. The slope is kind of low. By changing the slope, we're able to get a substantial more volume. We just have to weigh the differences to see if it's worth disturbing the yards. There's really no room to work there between the homes. It's so tight. So maybe there's a way we can keep that pipe and just do something with this on a better slope to help out or a better size. So that's where we're at now with that. And I talked to Commissioner Sui. We're probably going to have to do some interim work at the end of this pipe here. You can see it clearly now. There's a 12-inch pipe. So you have a 24-inch pipe that goes into a 12. So that's restricting the flow. Why they ever did that, I have no idea.
Is that where the two 12-inch pipes come out?
Pardon?
Is that where the two 12-inch
Yeah.
pipes? Did we find out where the other one comes from, or is it?
No, our camera's still down. We're unable to really get
So we still have the mystery
good
part.
video. I mean, I would like to, get together with Mike and Wayne Gressman and just go out there with a crew and remove those two 12s, extend it out with a short piece of 24. That'll help lower the flood elevation on Marlin.
Yeah, let's come on out and set it up. And
Yeah, it shouldn't take us long. By now, I think they've probably done most of the leaves.
well, we're doing one more pass through, but
One more pass.
that's all right. There'll still be two crews. We'll have enough
Okay.
guys to run the equipment to do that.
That's something maybe we can get done, next few weeks. That would be a big help.
Okay.
Engineering worked on the final restoration that the Hitchner's asked to see with the tree planting plan. We were going to try and deliver it to them today, but we're unable to get it out to them today. We did actually have the state police call Brian Day to ask him to open up a gun club because of that fugitive that's on the loose. So he had to leave to go take care of that. Do you have any updates on the Morris River Bikeway, Brian, or motorsports?
Yeah, the bikeway.
Okay.
Yeah, the Morris River Bikeway project, I see something on the agenda, accepting guidelines for federally funded projects. And that basically applies to this project. It's transportation alternative funds, and it kind of just sets forth just the process, how we administer things internally with those funds. There's certain requirements.
Is that for the next phase of that project? Is that what you're talking about? Or?
Yeah, it's called, Phase 5.
Yeah,
of the
so
bike
phase
path.
5, I know they don't pay the whole grant, so you have any idea how much money before you even decide if we want to go down that road still?
It's $517,000.
Okay, so how much is our share?
It's that's the
Or
grant.
that is our share.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, that's the grant.
Because they give us 500,000 and then we have to match it.
no match.
We don't have to pay anything?
So they give us the
Right.
the whole amount.
They're
for
giving us the whole
project.
amount. I thought there was a 75% thing. Maybe I'm wrong, but not for that one?
No.
I wish they'd give us $517,000 for roads.
And the key with that one is that that we become federally eligible, and this was one of the steps in that process. So we're still in that process. We had to adopt guidelines, so that's part of it. If we can't become federally eligible, then
So
Then
we
we
don't
wouldn't-
have this yet.
no, they've said that we can get that. that, I mean, they've granted it to us, not another project, but like if we can't meet those federal requirements,
Then
then.
it goes away.
So if we have,
Right, then it goes
so the
away.
idea is to put the guidelines in place, then we can worry about the rest of it.
Right, I mean, and it is a little more, there's a little more footwork with these than the state grants. I mean, as far as even with the inspections, you have to have a designated, kind of like with Wayne, he's the resident engineer on the sewer plant. You need a specific, you know, an inspector on the project all the time, and if you go to even, yeah, and there's a whole process with that. So it's in the guidelines. So it's a little more footwork there. And sticking with the grant projects, the 3rd Street, that's under construction. While they've actually closed it down for the winter, they did get the whole east side. They got the inlets set. They got Broad Street to Vine, concrete sidewalk and curbing. So they're going to wait until spring to open back up on that. So that's 3rd Street, and then Vine Street is the other project that's going to be going out on the street soon. We're actually going to receive bids the 29th. We had to do an addendum since it's adjacent to the arts building, the college arts building on High Street. The college actually went ahead and they did the landscaping adjacent to this project. So they actually, yeah, they did that. So we're going to take that out of our project. So I had to amend our contract so it didn't include all that landscaping. So we don't have to pay for that. So so that was part of the addendum, and then there was an additional inlet that we included in the contract that we're going to reconstruct. Originally, we were going to maybe have the city crews go out and reset a grate on there, a bicycle safe grate, but it's actually an odd size, even different than there was like a Millville size one. It was even different than that, and then the grate one fit, so it was easier to put it into the project. So that was part of the addendum, and that's next Thursday. That's we're going to receive bids for that.
What's that? Yeah.
Is that a grant, the Vine Street, 100% grant?
Yes. Yep.
And the 3rd Street's 100%?
That one, the cost, I believe, was like $439,000, I believe, in grant, and then there was a portion of it that, and it was months back when we were back in July when we were first going to do it. We were actually going to have to take some city funds to do that because it didn't cover the whole amount. There was actually an addendum, or there was actually an alternate deduct item that we didn't include in that because it would have bumped it even higher above the grant amount. I forget the actual amount. It might have been somewhere in the range of $20,000, or it was going to be city funds, but the remaining $440 is the grant.
When you said city funds, we have bonds for Class A projects, Class B projects, and we had set some money aside
Already.
for that specific project.
Right, yeah, I think 3rd Street was named in that, so we were able to go off of that bond. Then one other project out of Four Seasons. There's always a little bit of activity out there. There was a water main reported, not a water main, a hydrant reported that was leaking. The contractor was made aware of it. They actually ordered parts for the hydrant. Originally, they were going to do the work tomorrow, but the parts haven't come in, so it may be the end of the week to fix that hydrant. So, I believe that's. And I did have discussions with the Field of Dreams out there about the wall, and there were some gaps under the wall, and they were going to put some stable material up under the gaps so they can kind of fulfill their sound level drop.
But then you have to go back out and retest it, correct?
Right.
So they can just get a temporary CO come fall.
Right. or spring, or spring. fall.
Spring, I'm sorry,
Or-
yes, spring, correct.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Well, I think that's pretty much our update, Commissioners. There was one thing I wanted to make you aware of, that the Infrastructure Trust has a new requirement for all the projects. They're working on with the loans at the wastewater plant. It's asset management. They're now requiring that the city and all utilities that use the trust have an asset management program and a plan. Basically, they want to make sure that they're making this investment, helping us upgrade our plants, that we're taking care of our facilities, that we're managing it properly, doing the proper maintenance and staffing. So that was brought up, by DEP in the meeting. So, throughout the project, we'll be trying to come up with a formal plan. We don't have a formal plan really right now, but we should have one. So we'll be developing that with the guidelines from the trust. Now, that's all I have, Commissioner. If you have any questions.
Anything else, Joe?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Department of Revenue and Finance.
I guess we have down here a discussion of the donation on Oak Street.
We actually have a few of them on here. Last week we talked about 228 East Oak Street, and I wasn't sure what the consensus was of the governing body, if we want to accept the donation or do we want to put it on for a vote?
I personally don't feel comfortable with releasing the CDBG funds in light of the investigation that's going on right now. And I'm afraid that's going to start a precedence for forgiving loans, because there's been quite a few loans we found that have not been administered properly, and it's going to open up a floodgate.
Okay.
So unfortunately, if they can pay the loan, then that's a different story.
Yeah, I think in their case they're not able to pay off that loan.
I don't know how the other commissioners feel.
Yeah, they didn't pay that loan off, right? So.
No.
No,
I think they have,
wouldn't.
6 years left on that forgiveness, or however that works?
I don't know if they had 4 left or 6. It ended up being around $5,000, the balance of what they owed.
I wouldn't want to take it as long as there's an outstanding loan balance. I mean, plus, especially with the investigation going on.
Well, the question is whether we can take it, and the consideration would be the amount of the loan. And I think we may have reviewed this before and found
You-
that
you
from a
can.
legal standpoint, we could do it.
Correct. The problem is, the loans have been so mismanaged, and so many people should have paid them back and have not paid them back, that to start forgiving at this point, for whatever reason,
Yeah.
it's going to open a big door.
But I don't think they're asking the city to forgive it. I think they're saying, let us pay it in kind. We'll give you the equity and the property in return for writing off the loan. It's a
And-
little bit different.
Yeah, but that still opens a door in my mind, because there's a lot, we had, when we're going after the people for the loans, what they're doing is coming back and saying, well, we can't afford to pay you back, so just take the property.
Okay.
So if you open, so we've had that from 2 other individuals now.
Yeah.
So if we do it once,
Yeah.
it's just going to open the door, and just the way it is right now, I don't feel comfortable. If things were different, then that's a different story. So I feel bad for this couple. Unfortunately, they're just the victim of what's going on right now, too.
Mhm. Okay. The other one is 317 East Vine Street. I did send that out to you, and let me just grab this page here. This came in at the end of November, and it's a vacant lot on Vine Street. Similar to the other one, they want us to take it without any cost to them.
And I
which
think they paid for the demo, though, correct?
I believe they did.
So there should be no liens on it? I guess we should check if there's liens.
It's clean as far as
Okay.
taxes, liens. There's nothing pending on it. It's the cost to prepare the documents.
Well, they should pay for the cost for the documents. Brock, how much do the
Well,
documents
normally
cost?
they do. They're required to normally, and it's $400 for me to prepare a deed, and there's the cost of recording the deed as well.
So it's like $500 that they need to pay all told, or what's it
Well,
cost?
it's a little bit more than that, because
Okay.
it's the cost to record the documents at the county. that may be another $150.
So under 600.
Yeah.
They should pay for that, right?
Ideally.
Yeah.
I can respond to them via email and let them know that they would be required to pay the recording cost and the preparation of the deed for the transfer. I'll see what they say. I mean, at this point, or I could have Brock do it. I'm not sure, what the
And then if not, they keep it, right?
yeah, or they walk away and we
End up foreclosing later.
and then we end up foreclosing on it for the same amount of money that we would forgive paying Brock to do the document. I mean,
Oh, well.
that's however you want to work it.
I mean, we have a policy that we're charging, correct? Isn't that,
Yes.
that's the policy?
That's the
So
policy.
Yes.
to
yes.
arbitrarily change it, that's not fair.
Well, I think it's case by case. I don't know. That's why I bring them to you. So if you do see something that you might say, you know what, let's not charge them for that. But again, you're right. It's a procedure. It's a policy that the city has that we charge for the preparation and filing. The last one is three. There's actually three of them that were requested by Mr. Gifford, Brian Gifford. They're out on Driscoll Street and one on Cedar Street. I sent a map to the commission, and these all appear to be buildable in that zone. It's the airport zone there. And I'll start with Lot 8. It's 6.46 acres. There are some existing conditions on all of these properties. You have a storm basin easement, and you also have a utility easement that runs along the border of the property. As part of the condition of the sale, of course, we're going to have to retain those easements, so they're all going to have to be recorded in the deeds. And other than that, it looks relatively clean. There's nothing that I can see that would keep us from putting it on a public land sale. So we're looking to put that one on, definitely. Lot 13.04 is 5.68 acres, and that one also has a storm basin easement, and it also includes Lot 13.05, which it's a very small piece that runs along the border. It's the south border of this piece, along with 13.06. It almost like a little T shape. I don't know if you have a copy of the map, but this 13.06 isn't referenced at all in the request. So I think as part of that, if we could, when we do sell it, if we could bundle it, set up those utility easements that we need in the storm basin easement, and put that out for a public land sale as well. And the third one is Lot 15.06, which is 13 Driscoll Street. It is 2.11 acres. This one does have buildings on it. The other two were vacant. They had, they're wooded. Some areas are cleared. But this one here in particular, it does have buildings on it. I don't know, or at least I haven't been involved with the marketing of this piece. I know we've had interest in the past, so I don't know if any of you have any updates on where this one is, or if everyone's comfortable with putting this one to a public auction and seeing what we can get for it. I don't know if you wanted to hold on to this one for any reason.
Well, the issue would be whether it's needed for any official purpose. I mean, the statute says that you can sell a public auction land that's no longer needed for a public purpose. That's really what the issue would be.
Yeah, this one we didn't mark this one off to say let's keep it for something in the future. So
it's not, then that fulfills the definition of not having a public
yeah.
purpose,
Yeah.
correct?
And we did this, I think it was last year. I think we sold, I think about 4 or 5 parcels of property. I think Hank Sauce bought one of them. I remember going to the closing.
Yes.
And then because that's adjacent to some property that I have, should I recuse myself from this?
Which the one we're speaking of now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when you shouldn't vote on the,
Okay.
it's on the agenda for tonight.
Okay.
this 15.06 you're talking about?
I'm not, one of them is adjacent,
Oh, one of them, okay, not all, not the one.
not all.
Okay. This one in particular is surrounded wholly by the owner. The owner has 15 and 15.04. So I think with this public auction, if for some reason, and of course it depends on who wins the bid, in this case, if Mr. Gifford does purchase it, I'm not sure what his intentions are with the property, but I would like to see it, and I'm sure you would as well, to clean it up, is to have it consolidated into one larger lot. Again, I don't know if he's looking to develop it, so I don't think we should put restrictions on it if he's going to put another facility up as a separate parcel.
Well, the other issue is if you put a deed of consolidation as a condition, what if someone else wins the bid? You know, then it
Well, that's
doesn't
what I
apply
mean.
to
I think that condition would have to, I guess, depending on who gets the,
I guess we sell it and then we worry about that.
yeah.
That's-
Unless we not put any conditions on it as far as consolidation, and whoever wins that bid can
Yeah,
decide
and-
what to do with it.
And the conditions we typically put on these is that we retain the right to reject all bids. So if no one bids except for one person and they bid a ridiculously low amount of money, we can always reject that. We don't have to sell it.
Are there any other conditions or that you think we should put on these particular properties that we're looking to put on the public sale? I couldn't
The
find
only one
any.
I can think of is the one property that it would be subject to easements in favor of the city for the two utilities that are
Yeah,
located on the property.
those were the only ones I could see that we need to add on to the actual announcement of the sale.
I mean, it's just important to start getting stuff back on the tax rolls. We're gonna lose the New Quest property if we haven't already at the airport to the DRBA, so that's a $46,000 property tax bill that we're, need to make up somewhere.
And the assessed values are relatively low out there, so the 20% shouldn't be hard to hit, but we do have that right to refuse the bid if it's below 20%.
I mean, I'm all for selling it. I don't know what you guys think. Sell
He's in the selling mood.
it. Sell. Get it back on the tax rolls.
These are going to be introduced this evening, correct?
Mhm.
Is added new?
To be
Oh, I'm
voted on?
looking at the old
These
one.
three in
Okay,
particular.
it's added.
Okay.
Yep.
If I could just back up on the, what was the 317 East Vine. That one, I'm gonna go ahead and send an email, see if they're willing to pay the transfer costs. And then we'll move from there if they say yes or no, whatever it is. The other one, I guess I could send them a letter, 228 East Oak, to let them know that we're not interested in.
Well, you could tell them they have to pay off the loan. I don't
Okay.
know if we'd be interested if the loan was paid off.
Well, I mean,
And
what I
then
don't,
maybe they can make arrangements to pay the loan.
I mean, I don't understand why they don't just list the property for sale and sell it.
Good point.
it's got-
Because they want to move in, my thought is, and I don't know for sure, they want to move into a housing authority, so they probably can't have an income. Don't you have to be some kind
Well-
of income restrictions to be able to move into the senior high-rise?
But I mean, they could sell it for,
A
you know, what it
dollar.
would cost to pay the lien off, and the lien is small relative to the property, must
If-
be worth $30,000.
And if they could sell it,
Well, if they price it low enough, they will.
yeah.
We could draft a letter to that effect, that if the loan is paid off, then we would be willing to accept the property.
That
Or
makes sense.
reconsider accepting,
okay, I'm sorry,
reconsider
reconsider
accepting the property.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Brian.
We also had the e-civis grants research and management system and the commissioner's handbook, so I guess that's Jeannie.
Oh, I guess we spent $4,800 for eCivis last year, and we reached out to the departments that were supposed to be using it, but nobody was using it, as far as I know.
Well, Mr. McDowell uses, researched many grants, sent
Okay, so
emails to
you-
many people, and nobody applied for any.
Okay.
So is it worth, I guess in his opinion then, is it worth
Well,
continuing?
the grants are there,
I mean, we've been trying for 3 years to get some
We haven't
grant
gotten any.
movement, yeah.
so I don't know why,
Maybe this is our year.
well, I don't know. I mean, we've even
Well,
reached
people have
out
to write them, that's
to
the
the
problem.
different sports leagues that have to write, the application, they didn't do it, so. I mean, it's kind of just,
What is it, $100?
4,800.
4,800.
48?
Yeah, you might as well stop, and then if we,
Yeah, might
because
as
we
well
can always
stop.
start it up again, right?
Okay.
Right? We can.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other was the Commissioner's Handbook, which I put together. I thought it was a good tool for new commissioners when they come on board to know some of the rules in local government. And if there's any changes or additions you'd like, I'm open to them, so just let me know.
Okay.
Okay?
So we had suggested, you're going to take care of the couple that we suggested.
Mhm.
So the ones-
be
okay.
great.
Thank
Very
you.
good. Thank you
Yeah.
for doing that. And I had a question of something that's on the agenda tonight, the ordinance about the parking time limit for High Street,
Okay.
16.3.
That's a legal,
That's the Lavoy.
The Lavoie,
Yeah, I don't, why does it have to be all the time? I'm assuming the point is for drop-off at shows, or is because I don't think it's really
I would
fair.
have to get clarification from, I guess, Sergeant McLaughlin. He
I-
didn't,
I talked to Sergeant McLaughlin, there was no, like, you couldn't have a drop-off zone, you had to do a load, or not, you know what I mean? Like
Okay.
a
Load,
load
unload.
and drop, you had to do
Okay.
a load and unload zone.
I just, for all day, I think it's a hindrance to the other property owners on High Street. Parking's limited
Well,
on High Street,
you
and
say
you're gonna
that-
block off those,
You say that, but then I watch merchants park on High Street that have stores on High Street, which makes no sense to me either.
Correct.
So, I don't know what
but
I don't know what the general public
Be-
thinks.
because
Yeah,
how
you know
many
what I mean, but-
spaces is it?
It's basically losing
50
one.
feet.
Yeah. You're not losing much because there's already no space on the curb there.
So, they're gonna use it as a drop-off for shows, which they have 2 a week or 3 a week? And the rest of the time it just sits there?
Yeah, pretty much, that would be what it would do. So, I mean, I don't know what the general public's input is. They're certainly gonna have their chance. Because it's subject to a public hearing anyway.
And what if the restaurants want one in front of their restaurants, so that when the
I'm
people
not saying
come?
it's a good idea or it's a bad idea. That's why it's on the agenda, so we can talk about it, but.
Well,
it
it's
makes
to
some
vote
valid
already.
points, but, yeah, well,
Yeah.
they asked for it, nobody else asked for it.
If
So
I
here
was
we are.
every store, I would ask for it. Right? I mean, so you have a space when a customer wants to come in, that would always be there.
Well, the idea is at the theater, I think you have, like elderly people getting out of the car, they can't walk down High Street, so they can get out of the car, and then somebody else, they can go park the car and
Which
et
I think
cetera.
is a great idea, I just didn't know, I just thought it could be done some way that helps everybody.
Well, if we go by the theory that every time we put a foot on High Street that they're gonna make money, I guess it should help everybody, if that theory is correct.
Scott. Okay. I don't like the idea that a space is gonna sit there for, limited time frame. That's my opinion.
It's a valid point, I don't know which is,
I don't know which is better.
Stick it on the scale and
They
weigh
own
it.
the lot next door, why don't they make like something in that lot next door?
legally
for-
doesn't own the lot next door.
The individual-
Owns the lot next door.
So
It's
he could
different.
do like a drop through.
Well, I guess he could. I don't know.
Anything else,
See what
Commissioner?
people say.
No, I'm done.
Joe, you finished parks, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Department of Public Safety, we're going to be, beginning of our regular meeting, we're going to be, the chief will be here to give out some awards. I believe there's one life-saving award, which is a very distinguished award that a police officer gets. So we'll be doing that. Got that progress. Can we go into new business, please?
no new business tonight.
Nothing? Okay, we've now reached the public portion part of this meeting where you can make your comments to the commission. Anyone who would like to address the commission, please go to the podium, state your name, your address, and your concerns, and please limit your comments to 5 minutes, please.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the commission. I know most of you know me. Brian Hune. My office address is 2327 New Road in Northfield, New Jersey. And as you know, I am counsel for New Jersey Motorsports Park. We're here tonight just out of an abundance of caution about one of the matters that's on. I didn't want to bring it up in the agenda portion here because it's really on the agenda for the regular session. But there is, as the commissioners are aware, a noise ordinance being proposed. This is the noise ordinance that is approved by the Department of Environmental Protection. It is an ordinance that apparently if a town wants an ordinance, the DEP takes the position this must be it. My understanding is that the town does seek to adopt that tonight, along with one of the optional provisions that does speak to motor vehicles. It is our understanding, and the reason why I think this is more of an abundance of caution rather than anything else, and I believe I've spoken informally with Mr. Russell, and I believe he agrees with me, and he's actually spoken with the DEP about this, but there is one provision that talks about when people take off their mufflers or other sound devices off of their motor vehicles and then drive them on the public streets. Obviously, that's something no one wants to have happening, and of course, we aren't concerned about. I think we agree with the town that's a good idea. Our one fear is that the ordinance could theoretically be interpreted as it could apply to certain motor vehicles operated at New Jersey Motorsports Park. So we're only here tonight just to express that our concerns, but as I say, I believe it is the understanding of the commission that this ordinance does not, and actually by law cannot, apply to a motorsports facility such as New Jersey Motorsports Park. I know this isn't. I know these are not a question and answer, but I was wondering if the commission could address that and indicate at least at this point their feeling that this cannot apply to any motorsports venue, not just New Jersey Motorsports Park, but any municipality in the state that adopts it. I wasn't sure if we could get some input again. I know this isn't question and answer, but I was hoping we could maybe get a little input.
What I would say is that. And I did speak to the DEP, and when the state adopted its own noise ordinance, because there is a state noise ordinance, it was decided not to address racetracks in that particular ordinance. And I think at the time it was done, it was thought that they would revisit that later. Well, that never happened. So if you look at the New Jersey Administrative Code, which has the state noise ordinance, not the state model ordinance, but the state noise ordinance, there's a specific exception that makes clear that it does not apply to racetracks. The DEP has adopted a model noise ordinance, which also does not apply to racetracks. So whether you decide to include the two optional provisions or not, this ordinance, this model ordinance, doesn't apply to racetracks. I think it's essential that we adopt it because otherwise I think we run the risk of not having any valid noise ordinance on our books.
And that's been a problem with the police department.
Yeah, absolutely.
We do not have a valid ordinance for that.
Yeah.
And thank you, Mr. Russell. And that was our interpretation as well. We were just here out of an abundance of caution. And as I agree with Mr. Russell, if you do want to have an ordinance, it has to be this model ordinance. In fact, I was saying beforehand that I'm on city council in Linwood, and I'm going to take a look at our ordinance too to make sure we don't have an issue. But again, we just wanted to be here tonight to make sure that we all were in agreement and understanding. And it sounds like we definitely are 100% on the same page. So I thank everyone for your time, and we'll probably stay here for the main meeting. But if not, happy holidays to everyone.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing no one else, I close the public portion part of the meeting. Comments of, I'm sorry, we'll go right into resolution.
Just in time.
Okay, we have a resolution authorizing a closed session for the following matters. We're gonna have a report from Special Environmental Attorney Franklin Riesenberger on various legal matters. A report from the municipal attorney on the status of various legal matters. And we're also going to discuss professional service contracts under the personnel matters, appointment of public officer, not an employee, and the deliberative process exemption. Have a motion?
Motion. Second? Second. Okay. Now go into closed sessions.
I'm going to take a roll.
Go ahead.
Commissioner Ennis?